If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
The words hit me like a quiet, invisible slap. We were getting ready for a friend's anniversary dinner, and she looked absolutely stunning in her black dress. I complimented her, and she smirked, fastening her earrings. Careful, she purred. Maybe I'll find two men half your age tonight. She called it a joke, but lately, every one of her jokes had a sharp, testing edge. I smiled anyway, the kind of empty smile men wear when they've learned not to start fights that end nowhere. That night, however, I decided I was finally done chasing her approval. For months, I'd felt it like a slow, invisible bruise. She'd been different, always busy, always glued to her phone. I'm not the jealous type, but when the person you love stops looking at you the same way, you feel the shift in the air. She used to tease and laugh with me. Now, it felt like she was laughing at me, testing my limits. I tried to be the good husband, the patient one, Addie, the man who forgave too much. I let her subtle jabs about me getting older, working too much, and being too serious slide for too long. I didn't want to start a fight. I wanted to believe it was still just a joke. At the dinner, she was the life of the party. She was laughing, touching arms, soaking up attention like a thirsty flower. I watched her perform. When her friend asked where she got her energy, she winked and said, "Must be all the young blood around me lately." The table roared with laughter. I didn't say a word. I just finished my drink and, right then, I decided. If she wanted to play with my pride, I was going to show her what happens when a man finally stops chasing approval. That night, I saw the truth. I had been shrinking in my own marriage, shrinking to make her feel bigger, funnier, more desired. I was done being the quiet husband who just took it. The next morning, I made a plan. Not out of spite or revenge, but out of self-respect. I spent too long proving I could be the patient, forgiving husband. Now, I wanted to remind myself who I was before her jokes became weapons. I booked a private weekend retreat, but not for us. It was for me. I called an old friend who ran a cabin rental 2 hours away and booked it for the weekend. Then I started packing. Not just my bags, but my priorities. My space, my peace, my value. When I told her I'd be gone that weekend, she frowned. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Somewhere I don't have to be the punchline," I said quietly. She laughed, but it wasn't her usual confident laugh. For the first time, her reaction didn't matter to me. I was reclaiming myself. That night, she was heading out with her friends from work, the group I never really trusted, who drank too much, flirted too freely, and always came home too late. She was probably wearing that dress again. She probably had that smirk on her face, and the last thing I heard from her was her repeating the joke, "Maybe I'll find two men half your age tonight." She framed it as a joke when I didn't laugh. I smiled and said, "Have fun," then went back to my book. But my mind was already somewhere else. That kind of comment doesn't come from nowhere. It grows out of neglect, distance, and someone testing how much they can wound you and still get away with it. I realized my silence and patience were just giving her permission to keep throwing those subtle jabs. When the door shut behind her, the silence in the house felt heavy. I sat there, not with anger, but with a cold, clear resolve. Before I left, I made sure my phone was connected to the home security system's camera feeds. Not because I expected to catch a confession or a blatant betrayal. I wasn't looking for proof of cheating. I was looking for proof that I was right to leave. I needed to see her reaction to my absence, to gauge the depth of her realization. The camera focused mainly on the living room and the entrance, enough to see if she was alone and how she reacted to the quiet emptiness of the house. I needed the final, objective confirmation that this silence would be a louder message than any argument. I texted her one final time, "Don't wait up tonight. I'll be gone before you're back." No anger, no drama, just the truth. Then I drove to the cabin with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. I was already settled in the cabin, watching the live feed on my phone. Around 2 a.m., my wife fumbled with the lock. I watched her stumble in, not happily drunk, but exhausted and a little messy. She called my name, her voice slurring slightly. "Honey?" She probably expected me to be in the living room, reading or pretending to sleep. But I wasn't there. She moved through the dark living room, her eyes adjusting, the heavy silence of the house weighing down on her. I saw her pause, clearly confused by the absence of my shoes or my jacket. Then the feed showed her walking straight toward the bedroom, and soon after, she reappeared in the kitchen. She was standing by the counter, reaching for the light switch. Then she saw it. The note. She picked it up, her face frozen as she read it. I could see the sudden shift in her body language. The half-drunk, half-curious demeanor vanished, replaced by a stunned, cold sobriety. She ran back to the bedroom. I imagined her seeing the empty side of the bed and the closet half cleared. She stood there, motionless, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. The laughter in her tone was gone, replaced by a sudden panic. On the kitchen counter, I'd left a note. It was short. It was brutal. It was the answer to her joke. You joked about finding two men half my age. I hope they make you laugh the way I used to. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages, missed calls, voice notes. Her usual playful laughter was gone, replaced by a frantic panic. Maybe it finally hit her. Love isn't something you mock. It's something you respect, or you lose it. She waited for me to call, to fight, to come back, but I didn't. I needed this silence. That silence, I knew, would be louder than any argument we'd ever had. I spent 3 days at the cabin, watching the morning fog roll off the lake, realizing my peace mattered too. I wasn't waiting for her to break. I was waiting for me to heal. 3 days later, she found me. She looked nothing like the confident woman who'd left for her girls' night. Her eyes were swollen. Her hair was a mess. She clutched the note I'd left, the last piece of me she could hold on to. Her voice cracked when she finally spoke. "I didn't mean it," she whispered. "It was just a joke." I looked at her, not with bitterness, but with complete clarity. "That's the problem," I said softly. "You stopped meaning the things that mattered and started joking about the ones that did." She sat down across from me, her voice trembling. She confessed the emptiness of that night. She'd laughed with her friends, flirted for attention she didn't even want, and realized none of it made her feel alive, just hollow. When she came home and saw my things gone, she said it felt like the air had been sucked out of her chest. For the first time in years, I let her talk without interrupting. And for the first time in years, she truly listened when I spoke. I explained how her constant teasing, those little jokes, had slowly chipped away at me. How every time she compared me to someone younger or more exciting, it wasn't just words. It was a reminder that she'd stopped seeing my worth. She cried then, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet tears that fall when the truth finally lands. "I thought you'd always be there," she whispered. "I thought, no matter what I said, you'd never leave." I stood up, placed my empty coffee mug on the railing, and told her the quiet truth I'd found in the silence of the woods. "That's exactly why I had to," I said. As I walked past her, she reached for my hand, but I didn't stop. I wasn't walking away out of anger anymore. I was walking away because I'd already done the hardest part, realizing my own peace mattered too. As I drove down that long gravel road, I watched her reflection in the rearview mirror. It grew smaller until it finally disappeared, like the echo of a joke that was never funny to begin with.